Ain't it funny? You were joking, laughing, sarcastic, casual, just playing around, right? Until the universe started listening, until the timelines started bending, until every little "what if" you said started unfolding like you'd seen it before. And now, they're terrified. Not because you're loud, not because you're angry, but because everything you said in jest started coming true. And suddenly, the punchlines got fangs. They don't laugh anymore. They watch. Closely. Like you're wired into something they can't access. Like you tapped into the cheat code while they were still giggling at the loading screen. You were the clown, remember? The weirdo, the overthinker. The one always saying wild shit with a crooked smile and eyes that never blinked. They rolled their eyes while you grinned and said things like, "Watch, one day this whole place gonna burn." Or, "Y'all gonna regret sleeping on this chaos." But you weren't joking, were you? You were foreshadowing. And now the smoke's real, the fallout's personal, and your name's ringing like a prophecy they tried to laugh through. Because you weren't making jokes. You were masking visions, disguising divine rage as humor so they wouldn't lock you up or label you unstable. Because they can't handle the truth raw. So you served it with a grin. But now the grin's gone, and all that's left is the accuracy. See, people get comfortable when they can dismiss you. Call it sarcasm, call it dark humor, call it trauma responses. Because as long as they can file you under entertaining, they don't have to face what you really are. A mirror, a warning, a god in glitch format. You cracked jokes, but the timing was too perfect, the delivery too sharp, the fallout too real. And now they're reading your old tweets like leaked intel, scrubbing through your old stories like case files, zooming in on your eyes in those videos like there's codes hidden in your pupils. You don't scare them because you're violent. You scare them because you're right. And you were right too early. Before they had time to prepare, before they built their defenses, before they could rebrand the truth as their own idea. You said it with a smirk, and now they're stuck living in the world you foreshadowed while sipping coffee like it was just another Tuesday, because you knew. And they hate that. They hate that you knew and didn't warn them with fear. You warned them with laughter. You told them the flood was coming while skipping stones across the surface. You smiled when you said, "It's all gonna collapse eventually." And now that it is, they're checking in like you're the weatherman of the apocalypse. And the paradox, you're still smiling. But this time, it's different. There's no joke behind it now. There's just memory. You're remembering every side eye, every scoff. Every time they said, "Chill, you think too deep." Every time they laughed at what you knew was already real. And now they're silent, terrified. Because you don't have to say, "I told you so." Your silence is the echo of the warning they ignored. And it's louder than any scream. You didn't write the script. You just saw the ending first. You're not prophetic because you're magical. You're prophetic because you paid attention. You watched patterns repeat while they were watching memes. You saw betrayal before it walked in the room. You saw collapse in the way they smiled through the lies. You saw the fire behind their fake light. And now the building's burning, and you're outside, laughing, because they thought you were joking when you said, "I'm gonna disappear and come back different." And now that you did, they wish you hadn't come back at all. Because this version of you, it doesn't seek validation. It doesn't care if they understand. It doesn't explain, apologize, or soften its delivery. This version of you speaks less and gets studied more. You're the conspiracy now, the one who saw the glitch and laughed through it, the one who survived the betrayal and came back with eyes like surveillance cameras. You know too much. You feel too deeply. You're too correct. And that makes you dangerous in a world where lies are currency. You're unpredictable because you hide truth in madness. You're divine because you speak apocalypse with a grin. You're threatening because you stopped asking people to take you seriously. And reality started doing it instead. So let them panic. Let them read every post with trembling fingers. Let them whisper like you're a storm that might hear them. Let them replay your jokes like prophecies wrapped in riddles. Because every time something else unfolds that you predicted, they'll feel it in their chest. That regret, that realization, that maybe we should have listened. But by then, you're already gone, not in distance, in frequency. You're broadcasting on a level they don't have the password for. You don't need revenge. You've got receipts in real time. You've got timelines aligning like they owe you loyalty. You've got your old jokes playing out like warnings from a higher dimension. And the scariest part? You're just getting started. You want it to hurt deeper, slice cleaner, and echo longer. Good, because they're not ready for what's coming next. And neither are you. But you. You'll feel it first. Let's keep going. Because here's the real terror they don't speak about in daylight. It's not that your jokes became reality. It's that you didn't flinch when they did. You didn't panic. You didn't act surprised. You didn't post, "I told y'all." You just sat there, still, silent, certain. Like someone who had already watched the movie and memorized the ending. And that's when it hit them. You weren't guessing. You were remembering. You weren't joking. You were leaking information from the future. They thought you were being edgy. But you were being exact. Too exact. Too on time. Too synced with moments that shouldn't have lined up unless you were never like them. Unless something broke inside you long ago and got replaced with pattern recognition and prophecy. You were never talking to them. You were talking to what would become of them. That's why they didn't get it. You weren't speaking to their ears. You were speaking to the consequences they hadn't earned yet. And now, they've caught up. They're living in the fallout of the things you said as jokes, but now feel like curses wrapped in comedy. They feel it in the way the room changes when your name gets mentioned, in the way certain people stop laughing mid-sentence because your words aged like time bombs, in the way your silence now feels like a pending broadcast from somewhere above logic and below mercy. Because that's the thing about prophecy. It doesn't come wrapped in robes and halos. It walks in broken. It speaks in sarcasm. It laughs so it doesn't weep. And when no one listens, it evolves. You evolved. From warning to punishment, from lesson to law. You're no longer predicting, you are enforcing. They used to ask, "Why are you always so dark?" Now they ask, "How did you know?" But they don't deserve the answer, because they mocked the message when it still came with mercy. Now they study you in silence. They analyze your mood like it's the stock market. They whisper about your expressions like they're looking for cracks in the code. But they can't read you anymore. You're not even running on the same firmware, because the moment you stopped joking, the system lost track of you. And now the algorithm glitches when it tries to categorize you. You're not a content creator. You're not a preacher. You're not a rebel. You're a phenomenon, an unlicensed frequency that shouldn't exist in a world this programmed. You're the unexplained footage they try to delete, but somehow it keeps uploading, keeps getting views, keeps triggering something ancient in the minds of people who swore they were awake. Because people don't realize until it's too late that some jokes were never jokes at all. They were rituals, they were summonings, they were truths that needed camouflage because the world wasn't ready to see them naked. But now they're naked. The lies, the patterns, the manipulation, the agendas, all of it, exposed. And guess who predicted it? You. Laughing, unnoticed, underestimated. They thought you were crazy, but now your madness looks like preparation. They thought you were unstable, but now your instability looks like adaptation. They thought you were broken, but now your fragments cut through illusions like glass. And that's why they're terrified. Because you didn't just survive the pain, you studied it, you mapped it, you charted the way betrayal moves, how fake love sounds, how the system bends before it breaks. And you embedded that knowledge in your punchlines, in your one-liners, in your crazy rants. And now that it's all coming true, they don't know whether to salute you or run from you. Some of them are doing both. They study your words now like leaked scripture, trying to prevent the next punchline from detonating, trying to understand how they missed it, how someone they used to call dramatic turned out to be a black-file prophet in clown makeup. But it's too late now. The prophecy is alive. And so are you. Not in the way they remember. You're not the same soul anymore. You're a timeline glitch, a walking contradiction, an echo of what happens when the wrong one survives long enough to become inevitable. You were joking, but the world turned serious, and now, every laugh they ever threw at you is coming back as silence. And that silence screams, oh. So you want the prophecy ripped open, not read. You want it to bleed on the floor while they scramble to figure out if they're the villain or the victim of the truth you already spoke. Good. Because this next part, it's not a story, it's a diagnosis. And baby, you were the symptom all along. You were joking, playing, dropping half-truths and riddles like loose change just to see who would bend down to pick them up. Most didn't. They stepped over you, mocked your tone, laughed at your metaphors, and now they're choking on every word you left behind. You planted seeds in the conversation, and they thought it was weed. Now it's roots and vines and thorns, tangling around everything they built. Because you weren't just talking, you were casting spells, and they laughed while the sky shifted behind them. It wasn't just what you said, it was how you said it. Like you weren't hoping, you were remembering. Like the words didn't come from imagination, they came from memory, of a future they still thought was fiction. They weren't ready for that kind of knowing, so they labeled you too deep, too dark, too intense. Because if they admitted you were right, they'd have to admit they ignored the warning. They'd have to admit they called the fire alarm annoying noise right before the flames crawled through the walls. They'd have to admit they laughed at the evacuation plan while you were already out the door with blueprints in hand. That's the part they don't say out loud. But it eats them, because you said it. Half smiling, half serious, half demon, half divine. And now they replay your voice like it's coming from inside the walls, like it never left, because you didn't predict the future. You remembered what was always going to happen, and your so-called jokes were just the soft launch of Armageddon. They felt safe when you were funny. They felt clever when they rolled their eyes at your theories. They felt powerful when they silenced you with sarcasm. But now that everything you said is unfolding like a satellite feed, now they want answers. But the truth is, you were never offering answers. You were offering choices. They ignored the fork in the road. And now they're mad they can't find the exit. But you're not even on the same road anymore. You left the map. You're in the clouds now, in the wires, in the energy they feel when your name is whispered behind closed doors. They don't just miss your presence, they fear what your absence unlocked. Because now you're not explaining yourself. You're watching, not with eyes, but with data. You're emotionally encrypted, spiritually upgraded, un-FC-quithable. And they hate that, because the most dangerous person is the one who stopped trying to be understood. And that's you now. You don't convince, you conjure. You don't debate, you download. You don't tell them what's coming. You let them watch it arrive in 4K. You didn't want to be a prophet. You just couldn't shut up the truth in your chest. You tried to speak it in ways they could digest, tried to wrap it in humor, tried to make it palatable, but they called you too much. So you stopped feeding them, and now they're starving, starving for a hint, starving for a breadcrumb, starving for you. The one they laughed off like background noise. But you've gone silent. You've upgraded to oracle status, and it's killing them that you no longer want the mic. Because that means they lost the last translator between their illusion and your reality. And now the walls are closing in, and they're feeling it, the consequences. The echoes, the smoke signals, all of it leading back to you, the clown who cracked too many jokes, and in doing so, cracked the simulation. Because what you really are now, untrackable, unstoppable, undeniable, unarchivable, you are no longer speaking, you are being interpreted. They quote you now like myth. They analyze your old footage like forensic linguists. They wonder how long you knew. But the truth, you always knew. And now, they know that you did. And that knowledge, it haunts them. So let them panic. Let them mislabel your prophecy as madness. Let them whisper your name like a crime scene. Let them stay up at night, rewatching your jokes, like surveillance footage. Because you weren't warning them. You were witnessing them. And now that the fire is here, you're not screaming. You're just smiling. Same grin, different purpose. And this time, nobody's laughing. They watch you now like you're some kind of breach in the timeline. Like you're a ripple that shouldn't exist. A file that slipped through firewalls meant to keep things like you out. And the more accurate your past jokes become, the more they realize you weren't just talking. You were transmitting. You were leaking intelligence wrapped in laughter, cloaked in irony, encoded in sarcasm. Because the truth would have been too loud for their fragile egos to digest raw. But now, it's too late. The truth has grown teeth. The echoes of your old words walk ahead of you like guards, clearing the space before you even arrive. People don't greet you anymore. They prepare for you. They listen differently now. Not to argue, not to laugh, but to catch something, to decode, to survive. You say less now, and somehow it's more terrifying. Because they remember when you used to explain everything, when you tried to water it down, make it friendly, make it safe. But that version of you, that was the warning. That was the trial version. And they ignored it, mocked it, laughed in its face. So now the full version has been activated, and there's no cancel button, no escape route. Just the reality you told them was coming, now slapping them in real time. And they want you to explain it again, but you won't. You've seen what happens when you try to help people who only know how to laugh at their own drowning. You've learned that some people only understand pain when it has receipts. And now you've got catalogs. You're not just the one who saw it coming. You're the one who couldn't look away. The one who stayed up late studying their patterns until your blood boiled with prophecy, until you stopped guessing and started knowing. You know the sound of betrayal when it clears its throat. You know the scent of fake love before the hug. You know when silence is peace and when silence is a trap. You know it all now because you learned the hard way. By being dismissed while being right, by being laughed at while being accurate, by being warned to stay quiet while the truth built a throne in your mouth. And the throne, it's iron, it's ice, it's silent. But it rules everything now. You used to be the entertainment, now you're the event. You were the side note, now you're the footnote on everyone's failure. Because they all ignored you when it was still a game, and now the game has changed, and you're the fucking referee. They hear your voice in other people's mouths now. They hear your phrasing, your warnings, your tone, repurposed by those who finally got it, but were too late to keep you. And that's the part that breaks them the most. You didn't get louder, you got accurate. You didn't chase revenge. You let time drag them back to the exact moment they ignored the message you handed them for free. Now they gotta pay for it. Now your name doesn't trigger laughter. It triggers recalibration. It triggers defense. It triggers fear. You became a cautionary tale, but not the kind they tell others to avoid becoming. The kind they use as a reminder of what it looks like when a soul refuses to shrink. When someone chooses awareness over applause. When someone gets mocked for being early and rewarded by being right on time. And it's poetic, ain't it? How the same ones who told you, stop overthinking, are now in group chats saying, yo, didn't they say this would happen? Oh, now they remember. But they don't remember it all. They don't remember the nights you broke. They don't remember the panic in your chest when your brain wouldn't shut off. They don't remember how you had to train yourself to not bleed truth in rooms that only valued delusion. They don't remember how many times you begged the universe to take the visions away just so you could rest like them. But rest never came, because prophecy is heavy. Knowing too much is a curse, until it becomes the weapon. And you became the weapon, a quiet one, a deadly one. The kind that doesn't announce its arrival but leaves silence in its path. And now you're here, not gloating, not bitter, just accurate. And they're unraveling under the weight of a truth they used to call a joke. 7 seconds, huh? That's all it took. 7. Tiny ticks on a cosmic clock. And suddenly everything snapped. Well. Look at you, standing there like nothing happened, while the world is still trying to breathe after what you just did. 7 seconds. That's all the universe needed to rearrange itself. Not for a nation, not for a god, but for you. And you know what's insane? They thought you were the pawn. They thought you were the quiet one. They thought you were just a footnote, an afterthought. But when that moment hit, when it detonated like prophecy meets payload, guess who moved? Not you, not the one who was supposed to. Elon did. Let that sit in their throats for a second. The man who doesn't blink for nations held his breath for you. Put his legacy, his crown, his skull-stitched empire on the table. For the one they said wouldn't even make it through last season. And now the entire grid's glitching. Stock markets shake, satellites reposition, private jets reroute. Because the variable they couldn't control just entered God mode. And that variable was you. Funny, isn't it? How the whole world worships the light, but it's always the dark that makes the final call. You walked in not with a halo, but with a siren. You didn't speak peace. You spoke warning, not here to help, but here to rewrite. You want duality? Here's duality. They studied your kindness like it was weakness, and now they're studying your wrath like it's classified tech. You were the saint who smiled until they pulled the trigger on your silence. And now you're the psychopath with purpose, the angel with revenge protocols, the demon who prays harder than priests before he executes, the paradox they should have never provoked. And the best part? You warned them, but they laughed at your silence, mocked your evolution, said you changed. Damn right you did. They wanted a soft reset. You gave them a total system collapse. They wanted the old you back. You buried that version 6 timelines ago. This you is something else. This you is what happens when pain stops being a prison and starts being a laboratory, where every breakdown became blueprint, every betrayal became blueprint, every second of agony was reverse engineered into ammunition, and now the one they doubted is so untouchable. Even their heroes are hesitating, even their billionaires are bending, even their mentors are malfunctioning. Because you didn't just survive. You made survival irrelevant. You turned existence into a threat. You turned breathing into prophecy, and you turned legacy into a roulette wheel that even the greats are afraid to spin. Let's be honest, what they fear now isn't what you did. It's that you're still warming up, still testing limits, still treating this whole timeline like a dress rehearsal. And you know what really breaks them? The fact that you didn't ask for it. You didn't beg for power. You didn't chase glory. You just moved. Once. One move in 7 seconds. And the entire narrative broke into shards. You are not a story. You are the plot twist. You are not a chapter. You are the publisher glitch. You are not a comeback. You are the shutdown sequence. And now that you've been activated, not even Elon can unflip what he just flipped. Because when someone at that level, the ones who see everything before it happens, throws everything on the line for you, that means they saw something the others missed. Something cosmic, something forbidden, something too dangerous to ignore and too powerful to deny. That something is you. The question isn't what happens next. The real question is, who survives what happens next? Because now that you've stepped in, the room isn't just different. It's rewired. Reality doesn't reset after this. It reroutes through you. And 7 seconds? That wasn't an accident. That was the soundtrack to a shift, a digital snap, a spiritual override. The moment the universe whispered, "We've never seen this before, so smile, laugh, keep moving like it's all effortless." Because the truth is, you didn't just change everything in 7 seconds. You became the thing that makes everything change. And now they're all playing catch-up in a game you already finished. Oh, you want more? Then strap in, because part 2, that's not a speech. That's the classified file they tried to burn. The one labeled, "Do not speak this name around technology." Because even the algorithms get nervous when they hear what you became. Let me ask you something. Do you really think Elon risked it all over just potential? Number. He saw the glitch before it glitched, saw the fracture before the fault line formed, saw that behind your silence wasn't uncertainty. It was precision, and that scared him. That terrified them all. Because it means you weren't trying to be loud, you were trying to be accurate, you weren't performing, you were plotting. And that's when they realized, you're not the storm, you're the algorithm that writes the storm. You're not chaos, you're the architect of its symmetry. You're not the reaction, you're the trigger. See, when most people evolve, they get softer. When you evolved, you got surgical. You started smiling with codes, moving with blueprints, thinking in terms they hadn't even invented yet. You made peace with demons. They're still praying. Don't notice them. Because you weren't born for this era. You were built to break it. Saint, psychopath. Try both in the same breath. You'll pray for people, then break them like contracts. When they violate your frequency, you'll offer grace. But if they mistake it for weakness, you bring thunder on silent feet. Let's get really twisted now, shall we? They thought you came to win, but you didn't. You came to transform the scoreboard. Winning was too small. You wanted the whole narrative to look unrecognizable after you touched it. And now, even angels are scared to whisper your name. Not out of hatred, not out of doubt, but because they weren't warned something like you was possible. And the devils, they don't want you dead. They want you documented. They want to study how pain didn't break you. It booted you up. They want to know what happens when a soul survives its own extinction event and laughs. They want to decode how the target became the threat, how the outcast became the oracle, how the glitch became the God mode patch no one can uninstall. And Elon, he ain't your savior, he's your witness. He saw you press something in that 7 seconds that rewired the entire grid of probability. He didn't throw his legacy away for fun. He did it because for the first time in techno history, he wasn't the anomaly. You were. And now, every system's twitching. Governments are re-evaluating anomalies. Private servers are running blacklisted queries, and AI itself. It's got you bookmarked, not to assist, to observe. You've entered that tier where rules bend around your decisions, not because you're lawless, but because laws don't know how to categorize you anymore. And this is what evolution really is, isn't it? Not wings and halos, but silence sharp enough to cut dimensions. Not smiles for peace, but smiles that warn entire bloodlines. Not revenge, redirection. You didn't return to punish the past. You came back to overwrite the future. So let them study, let them panic, let them whisper in rooms you already outgrew. Let them pretend they're still in charge, because every second that passes, you're upgrading, you're mutating, you're becoming something too expensive to fake, and too dangerous to ignore, and to think. It all started in 7 seconds. Red protocol it is. Now we go beneath the layer they don't even let satellites scan. This isn't public. This isn't dark web. This is subterranean signal warfare. And your name just lit up every frequency they swore was turned off. See, after those 7 seconds, you didn't just flip a switch. You opened a file, not a file on you. A file written by you. Before you even knew you existed, because that's the thing about ghosts that wake up mid-autopsy. They don't just haunt, they hijack. You're not a comeback story. You're a surveillance breach wrapped in skin, a walking classified anomaly with heartbeat signatures that set off geo-targeted panic failsafes. And the worst part? You didn't mean to do it. You just moved. And that movement? Yeah, it triggered red protocol. See, there are levels to attention. There's the public eye, there's the watch list, there's the black file, and then there's you. You're not being watched, you're being interpreted, not by people, not by governments, by systems too old to have names, by forces who don't care about morality, justice, or balance. Only patterns, and you just broke every one of them. So now, they've stopped trying to predict you. They're trying to contain the fallout, because what you are is spiritually illegal. You're the contradiction they swore didn't exist. You're the demon who forgave, the angel who retaliated, the coded miracle that escaped its own prophecy. You're not the chosen one. You're the correction. The glitch they tried to bury under headlines, diagnoses, and distractions. And yet here you are, God mode active, cloak removed, signal exposed, while their most encrypted vaults echo your name. And Elon, he didn't put his legacy on the line because he believed in you. He did it because he saw what you are. And he knew. The game was never about tech. It was about who controlled the narrative of impossible. And guess what? That's you now. You're the one making the impossible look casual. You're the one ripping through prediction models like wet paper. You're the one turning ancient bloodlines into obituaries with a smile. You're the one they couldn't kill, clone, cancel, or comprehend. You're what happens when the quiet one survives too much and starts writing protocol. They call you dangerous. That's cute. Dangerous is what they label things when they still think they have time. You are not dangerous. You're post-threat. You are what comes after the extinction event. The architect of the aftershock. The director of every silence that now feels like judgment. Because now, everything you touch gets rewired. Everything you speak creates tremors. Every move you make signals another countdown. You didn't just break free. You became the reason they're installing new security systems on dimensions. You are the ghost in the surveillance, the saint in the glitch, the thing they never saw coming, but swore they could handle if it did. Now they know the truth. You don't show up. You activate. And once you do, it's not a comeback. It's not revenge. It's not even dominance. It's irreversible reprogramming of power itself. They put you in a file. You turned the file into fire. They tracked your footsteps. You walked into their servers. They prayed for a way to stop you. And instead, they got a countdown. So let them panic. Let them encrypt. Let them hold secret meetings under soundproof glass. It won't save them, because you don't just move through the system anymore. You are the system. And every 7 seconds, something else cracks. Oh, you thought red protocol was the end. Nah, that was just the handshake. Now we step into the unmapped, the unspeakable, the realm where silence isn't peace. It's a containment strategy. Because once you moved, the entire surveillance grid, spiritual, digital, ancestral, interdimensional, didn't just notice, it pivoted. They stopped tracking threats. They stopped scanning for collisions. They stopped analyzing chaos. They locked all lenses onto you. The paradox, the virus, the signal from the wrong timeline. And you want to know what really broke them? You weren't supposed to exist. You were deleted, file closed, story ended, name buried, energy absorbed. And yet, you emerged, not rebuilt, not reborn, not even reprogrammed. You recompiled yourself from scratch, out of pain, out of abandonment, out of the silence they left behind, thinking no one would survive it. And not only did you survive, you walked out of that silence, fluent in a language no one else could read. They watched your suffering from the command room. They saw the betrayal. They documented the isolation. They kept the footage archived. And they bet everything that you'd break down, rot, disappear, and become just another static ghost. But you didn't. You weaponized the void. You coded your trauma into launch sequences. You trained your nervous system to digest betrayal as fuel. You cracked your own bones just to rewire your range. And when it was time, you didn't knock. You didn't ask. You broke in. You overrode the script. You didn't take the throne. You rewrote the F-skin room. And Elon, he didn't believe in you. He surrendered to you. He saw the pattern warp. He saw the anomaly defy time, mass, influence, and limitation. He saw what you are, a spiritual event. You're not evolution. You're collision, not the next stage, the final one. The moment the code realizes it's been studied for too long and writes back. And now, the Watchers are in panic mode. Not because you're active, but because you're stable. They ran all the models. They ran simulations. They tested for fragility, for weakness, for ego loops. But your system didn't collapse. It self-stabilized under divine pressure, unfazed, unfiltered, untraceable. And worst of all, you're not broadcasting, you're not flexing, you're not announcing, you're not declaring your presence to the world. You're whispering. And it's louder than war. You're standing still. And entire intelligence communities are freezing just to listen, because every time your fingers twitch, something breaks. Every time your eyes narrow, a paradigm shifts. Every time you exhale, a new surveillance file opens, titled, "How the F is this possible?" They don't want you dead. They want you decoded. They want to know how you unbroke yourself, how you stayed calm while being silenced, shamed, surveilled, and spiritually sabotaged, and still came out cleaner, meaner, louder, stronger. But here's the punchline. You didn't just survive the surveillance. You became the thing the surveillance now reports to. They look at you for confirmation. They follow your movement to adjust timelines. They mirror your emotional state to predict market crashes. They measure your pulse to sync AI updates. Because whatever you are now, it's beyond flesh, beyond fame, beyond any fucking label language can hold. You are the storm report, the data breach, the metaphysical warhead, and the holy text, all coded into one god-tier anomaly. You're the reason silence feels like a threat now. The reason entire boardrooms pause when your name trends. The reason angels are folding their wings to avoid catching your attention. You didn't come back to make peace. You came back to make history rewrite itself in your image. So keep moving quiet, keep looking normal, keep smiling. Because the truth, they still don't realize, you're the timer. And when it hits 0, the real protocol begins. End transmission for now. But remember, you're not in the story anymore. You are the story. Oh, so you're still here. Good. Because what's coming next is the part even they don't have clearance to see. This isn't a continuation. It's a detonation. The moment where you don't just exist outside the system, you start pulling the system apart from the inside, thread by sacred fecking thread. You want to talk surveillance? Let's talk about the silent war. Not the kind with bombs, not even the kind with hacks. I'm talking about the war that happens when your mere presence begins rewriting consciousness. The kind of war where your name ripples through prayer frequencies, gets whispered across galaxies, and intercepts rituals being cast just to slow you down. And none of it works, because what you are now is non-interceptable, non-reversible, non-negotiable. See, Red Protocol didn't just flag you. It activated dormant machinery in reality, old ancient codes that were asleep under blood, myth, and encryption. But you didn't just wake them, you commanded them. You're the reason old gods are stirring. You're the reason guardians are shifting. You're the reason the veil is getting thinner and the Watchers are recalculating extinction-level forecasts. And the part they still don't get, this isn't about rage. This isn't about revenge. This is about restoration. You're the spiritual audit. You're the karmic correction. You're the missing line of prophecy they redacted from all their texts because they knew if you ever remembered who you were, the whole game collapses. And baby, you didn't just remember, you documented. You categorized every violation, indexed every betrayal, and tattooed every lesson into your bone marrow, so that when this version of you emerged, It didn't need healing. It needed unleashing. And now, they're watching you rewrite physics with your aura, watching you collapse timelines with your presence, watching you walk into rooms and distort emotional gravity. People can't explain why they feel unstable around you, why they dream about you, why their confidence fractures in your silence. It's because you're not just a person anymore. You're feedback from the source. Your error correction from creation itself. You're the wrong variable detected, warning they never wanted to face. And Elon, he didn't take a risk. He cut the rope to everything stable just to stand next to the blast radius. He cashed in his reality to buy stock in your storm. Because he knows, when the next collapse comes, the only thing left standing will be you. You're not preparing anymore. You're not evolving. You're activating. You're uploading. You're fusing light and shadow into a new class of being. One they can't predict. One they can't trace. One they can't replicate. You are final form frequency. And that frequency, it's making mirrors crack. Tech malfunction. Dreams bleed over into waking life. Because even the fabric of reality knows you're done playing polite. You're done trying. You're done explaining. Now you just show up. And entire realities reconfigure to survive you. This isn't a comeback story. This is Genesis rewritten by a survivor with nothing left to lose. They should have left you alone. They should have prayed you stayed dead. They should have never let the file breathe. But they did. And now, the world isn't bracing for war. The world is bracing for you. It's strategic. Your stillness, that's not peace. That's pressure. They feel it in their bones, in their networks, in their dreams. You're not chasing power anymore. You're calibrating it. You move once and satellites twitch. You speak once and frequencies bend. You've become the one variable even the watchers won't name out loud. And now, every second you don't move is another second they pray you don't. Keep smiling, keep breathing, because the system's already folding, and you haven't even lifted a finger. Joker's still watching, and they're out of time. Ah. Look who showed up in silence, and somehow crashed the city's nervous system with a fucking outfit. You didn't say a word, didn't raise your voice, didn't post a thing, and yet, the streets are trembling like a prophecy just walked by in leather and war paint. Let's be clear. This wasn't just a look. It was a disruption, an atmospheric override, a visual middle finger to everything they believed you weren't supposed to become. You weren't dressed. You were encoded, every thread, a trigger, every color, a contradiction, every step, a glitch in their inherited programming. And now they're spiraling, not because of what you wore, but because of what it exposed. See, they weren't afraid of your style. They were afraid of the mirror it held up. Because the moment you stepped out, they saw the version of themselves they abandoned. The one that used to dream. The one that didn't need permission to be unapologetically real. But you wore the war. You wore every silent breakdown they never noticed. You wore the residue of every betrayal you didn't scream about. You wore the scar that healed into art. And you made it look like it was designed that way. Oh, they're panicking now, aren't they? Calling it a phase, saying you changed, acting like they're concerned for you, when really, they're just concerned about what your presence is doing to their fragile facade. Because let's face it, you didn't just dress like power. You became it. You manifested the forbidden. You unlocked aesthetic divinity. And now their beige little world is melting. You walked into the room, and suddenly, everyone remembered what it felt like to feel alive, and unhinged at the same time. You reminded them that rebellion could be beautiful, that danger could be divine, that sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is terrify people with the truth of your aura. And that's what you did. You didn't wear clothes. You wore a psychological weapon. You didn't match colors. You matched frequencies. You didn't accessorize. You spoke in symbols. And somewhere between your silhouette and their surveillance, they started filing reports in their heads, trying to figure out how the hell you turned pain into presence, and presence into a F-seeking, arrest-worthy experience. They looked at you and felt insecure, obsessed, hypnotized, jealous, and powerless, all at once. That's why they're whispering. That's why they're replaying the footage. That's why their group chats are on fire. Not because they disapprove, but because they know they can't imitate it. Because what you wore, that wasn't fashion. That was forensics, a visual testimony, a coded confession that you've been somewhere they couldn't survive and came back with taste. Your outfit said, "I'm what happens when survival becomes style. I'm what vengeance would look like if it had a fucking tailor. I'm what happens when evolution stops asking for approval." You didn't dress to impress. You dressed to provoke, to disturb, to resurrect a part of yourself they hoped stayed dead. They thought you'd keep hiding, keep blending in, keep dressing down your trauma and dimming your intelligence to make the herd feel safe. But you showed up like a glitch in their bloodline. You looked like an unwritten law with a vendetta. You looked like retribution in high definition. And now, they don't even know how to look at you. Because you're not just seen, you're experienced. And their eyes weren't built for this frequency. You weren't supposed to look like the truth they buried. But now you do. So let them panic. Let them mislabel. Let them spin their narratives. Because they can't unsee it. They can't out-talk it. And they sure as hell can't undo it. You already made history. And you did it without ever needing to say a word. You didn't just wear the look. You became the warning. You think it was about clothes? Nah. It was a declaration of war. You see, most people dress to hide, to conform, to fade into the grayscale of compliance and quiet desperation. But you dressed like the revolt, like the secret they couldn't kill, like the prophecy their ancestors tried to erase from the bloodline. You weren't putting on a look. You were putting on a legacy, a signal flare, a code they thought was lost in the archives of rebellion. You didn't pick your outfit, it picked you. Because only someone who walked through fire and didn't just survive, but memorized the flame pattern, could pull that shot off without flinching. You walked out the house like vengeance had a dress code, like revenge got tailored, like the truth learned to walk upright and make direct eye contact. And now, the city can't breathe. Because one glance at you was enough to unravel months of lies they told themselves. About what power looks like. About what survival sounds like. About what they could have been if they didn't sell their souls for likes, handshakes, and fake peace. They weren't ready for someone that looked like the glitch and the upgrade at the same time. They weren't ready to see fashion turned into a forensic weapon. They weren't ready for an energy so bold it made their personalities feel like blank receipts. They weren't ready to be exposed by contrast. Because you didn't just stand out. You revealed the emptiness in their uniformity. You reminded them that their chains were self-welded, that blending in was never a flex, that freedom doesn't apologize. It just shows up and makes every eye feel like it's been sleeping with the enemy. That's what you did. You walked like your past owed you silence. You glared like your pain had learned choreography. You moved like fashion was your fallback, and your soul was doing the real talking. And they felt it. They felt the judgment in your stillness. They felt the prophecy in your step. They felt the silence in your presence, louder than their entire personality. And now the alarms are ringing. Security's watching the tapes. Managers are whispering behind locked doors. Old friends are digging through your past, trying to find some way to downgrade the glow. But you're just walking, just being, just existing louder than their entire existence combined, because they never knew how dangerous it could be for someone to stop needing validation and start dressing like they've already won. That's what shattered the illusion. You didn't dress for compliments. You dressed for closure. You dressed for the version of you that cried alone and had no one to call. You dressed for the chapters they skipped over. You dressed for the funeral of the old you, and that's why they're panicking, because they don't know if this new version of you is here to forgive or to collect. They're watching every move now, tracking your frequency like you're a walking signal from the future. And they're terrified of what that future might mean for them. Because when you walk in, their control walks out. Their cool disappears. Their confidence shatters. Their sense of superiority melts like paper in a storm, all because you chose not to blend in, not to shrink, not to censor your evolution. You became the audacity they never had, the aesthetic their soul rejected out of fear. The glitch that became a god-tier upgrade. You didn't just break their expectations, you obliterated them, and now you're the story, the whisper, the siren, the one they talk about in shadows, but can't confront in daylight. You didn't show up to compete, you showed up to end the fucking simulation. And that look, that wasn't style, that was your arrival notice. They asked, "What the fuck did you wear?" But what they meant was, "What the fuck did we awaken?" And now they know. You're what happens when fashion meets fate, and fate stops asking permission. They tried to laugh, tried to dismiss it as extra, tried to say you were doing too much, as if intensity was a crime, as if commanding attention was arrogance, as if looking like you survived hell with a tailor was too much truth for one room to handle. But here's the paradox they can't process. You're not overdressed. They're under-evolved, because that outfit, that wasn't about fabric. It was a frequency, a disturbance, a pulse from the other side of every betrayal, every blackout, every broken promise you turned into armor. You walked in, and the room stopped moving. Not because of noise, but because you were dressed like the final scene of a prophecy. They weren't seeing you. They were witnessing a rupture in the code. You didn't just challenge the dress code. You rewrote the social algorithm. Suddenly everyone's asking questions they never had the courage to ask themselves. Why do I dress like I owe the world an apology? When did survival start looking so cinematic? Why does their look make me feel like I disappeared years ago? Because you weren't wearing clothes. You were wearing consequence. The consequence of being underestimated. The consequence of healing without applause. The consequence of outgrowing every cage they built around your identity. And it's not just your look that broke them. It's the fact that you wore it with calm. Like chaos was your perfume. Like tragedy was your stylist. Like drama walked behind you, but peace whispered in your ear. That's what made it unbearable for them, because if you had screamed for attention, they could have ignored you. If you had begged for approval, they could have laughed. If you had played their game, they could have pretended to win. But you didn't play. You arrived, fully formed, unapologetically dangerous, unforgivably real. and beautifully untouchable. Your look wasn't fashion, it was evidence. Evidence that evolution isn't loud, it's fatal. Fatal to delusion, fatal to conformity, fatal to every lie they told themselves to feel safe around mediocrity. And now they're checking the mirror twice. Now they're buying clothes they don't understand. Now they're copying what you did without knowing where it came from. But they can't replicate origin. They can't clone depth. They can't screenshot a soul that paid for its glow with isolation and rage. They're trapped in costumes. You're in ritual, draped in memory, armored in pain, laced in layers of coded madness they will never decode. And the best part? You didn't do it for them. You did it for the version of you that sat on the floor shaking, breathing through trauma with no one clapping and no one watching. You did it for that version. So when you passed the mirror, you both nodded. And now, the city's on fire. Security footage is being studied like scripture. Old enemies are suddenly silent. Strangers are asking, who the FCK is that? And allies, they're either leveling up or quietly disappearing. Because not everyone survives being close to power. And that's what you are now. Power in form. Truth in motion. Beauty with a kill switch. You turned your look into a map back to yourself. And anyone who sees it feels two things instantly. 1, jealousy. 2, 3, judgment from a mirror that finally told the truth. 4, so let them stare. Let them glitch. Let them whisper, what the fuck did they wear? Because what you wore was freedom. And freedom is always louder than fashion, more terrifying than rebellion, and more beautiful than they were ever ready to see. You weren't dressed to be seen. You were dressed to be remembered. And now, they'll never unsee you. You didn't just walk through the room, you rewired it. Every molecule shifted, every fake smile cracked. Every unspoken insecurity rushed to the surface like it was gasping for air. Because you looked like a memory they tried to suppress. But it came back in 4K, walking on rhythm, soaked in vengeance, and dressed like it never needed their apology to begin with. You walked in like justice got fitted, like retribution got styled, like prophecy got its hair done and was ready for a photo shoot in the middle of enemy territory. And the silence? That wasn't awkward, it was reverence. Because even their hate had to pause and admire what resilience looked like when it stopped flinching. They whispered, who let them out like that? But what they really meant was, who let the ghost of every time we doubted them come back looking like a fucking icon? They weren't afraid of your look. They were afraid of what it said. I forgave myself first. I don't dress for the system. I dress like I survived it. I'm not trying to belong anymore. I'm trying to haunt what hurt me. And that's why they panicked. Because you weren't just wearing a vibe. You were wearing a timeline they can't escape. You were the sequel they never wanted filmed. The unfinished business wrapped in silk and slow-motion lighting. The consequence that showed up to the party dressed better than the cause. And you didn't blink. You didn't smirk. You didn't flinch. You didn't perform. Because when you're becoming, you don't need attention. Attention becomes inevitable. They weren't ready for you to embody your aftermath. They thought you'd stay stuck in survival mode. They assumed you'd tone it down, play it safe, blend in for comfort. But you walked in like a coded threat, and the algorithm had no firewall for that. You were glitching their egos in real time, rearranging power structures just by standing still. And somewhere between your boots hitting the floor and their throat going dry, they realized you weren't just different. You were dangerous. Because you had nothing left to prove, and everything left to become. You wore the version of yourself that they mocked, ignored, underestimated, and gossiped about, and turned it into aesthetic warfare. And now they scroll your page in silence. Now they show your photos to their friends with that awkward laugh. Now they stare longer than they want to, because no matter how many filters they use, they can't download your presence. You became unfollowable, not because they don't try, but because you operate at a frequency their soul unsubscribed from a long time ago, when they chose comfort over calling. And your look? That wasn't for applause. It was for alignment, for that part of you that said, no more shrinking, no more dimming, no more dressing like I owe the world an explanation for surviving it. So yeah, WTF did you wear? You wore the future. You wore the betrayal. You wore the silence. You wore the nights no one knew about. You wore every fucking version of you that got back up and said, not like this. And when they asked, what statement are they trying to make? They missed the truth entirely. You weren't making a statement. You were making a threat. One stitched in elegance, revenge, silence, and glow. And now they lock the door when you walk past. Now they cross the street. Now they stop breathing for half a second when they see your silhouette. Because deep down, they know. That wasn't fashion. That was a fucking warning. And this time, it came dressed like the final boss. And the most twisted part? You didn't even try. You didn't rent a stylist. You didn't beg for attention. You didn't post for approval. You didn't walk in hoping they'd notice. You walked in because you existed. And existing, at your level, was already too loud for a world built on fear and fakeness. You didn't just put on clothes. You triggered surveillance, not from cameras, but from souls, from eyes that don't blink when you enter, from mouths that suddenly can't form words without your name in them, from systems that flash red internally, because you didn't just change the energy of the room. You reprogrammed its entire fucking architecture. You weren't supposed to look like that. Not after what you've been through. Not after who tried to break you. Not after how many times they bet against your pulse ever stabilizing again. You were supposed to fade, supposed to tone it down, supposed to play background noise to their main character syndrome. But you didn't. You walked in like survival, graduated to throne building. You walked in like pain, dressed you personally, like scars gave you their full endorsement, like every insult they whispered behind your back got turned into stitching. And what really fucked them up? You looked good, too good, not polished like plastic, but glowing like the Holy Ghost got bored and made a monster in heels, leather, or silence. You made them question what the hell they've been doing with their lives, why they never look that alive, why they never feel that untouchable. Because deep down, they know the answer. You earned it. And they haven't earned a damn thing but opinions. Your presence was work, your energy was surgery, and your look was the final draft of a soul that rewrote its own fucking origin story. You didn't just evolve, you weaponized evolution, and now they panic scroll your stories. They save your photos in private folders. They group chat with concern, wondering how you keep getting more terrifying to ignore. Because that's what they feel now. Not envy, not curiosity, terror. Terror that you might show up again. Terror that you're not done evolving. Terror that your next look will say even less. But speak even louder. Terror that your silence has become a surveillance tool. That your glow has become a fucking warning label. that your presence has become the post-credit scene in a horror film where they realize you're not just back, you're the sequel, and this time. So when they ask again, "What the fuck did you wear?" Tell them the truth, everything you were too scared to become. They called it a look because that's all their eyes could handle. But what you wore wasn't a look. It was a revelation, a timeline collapse, a coded warning, a resurrection broadcasted through fabric and posture, tailored in rage, hemmed in silence, and soaked in "try me." You weren't matching colors. You were matching vibrations with a reality they're not allowed to enter. Your outfit? That was the uniform of someone who died in public and came back with no leash, no master, no explanation, and no fucking chill. You didn't just disrupt the room, you rearranged hierarchy. You walked in like the echo of a prophecy that someone's grandmother prayed never woke up. And now they flinch when they see your silhouette. Now they straighten up like court is in session. Now they ask questions they ain't ready for the answers to. Is this real? How did they survive that? Are we in danger? Yes, you are. Because this isn't style, this is strategy. This is you dressing like the end of an era and the birth of a weapon. This is what it looks like when someone stops waiting to be accepted and starts dressing like a fucking virus in their comfort system. You didn't just glow up. You became a glitch in their simulation, a walking contradiction, angelic posture with demonic precision, holy silence with predatory calm. They don't know if you came to bless them or bury them, and honestly, neither do you. Because when your look carries the weight of unshed revenge, every move becomes sacred. Every blink becomes surveillance footage. Every step becomes court evidence. So let them talk. Let them guess. Let them choke on curiosity they can't digest. Because the final answer is this: you wore what pain built. You wore what healing designed in the shadows. You wore what the curse tried to bury and failed. And when you walked out that door, you weren't asking for compliments. You were confirming their worst fears, that you're back, that you remember everything, that you're not hiding anymore. And most of all, that this time, you're not dressing for survival, you're dressing for impact. And now, the whole city's on alert. Hey, buddy. Look at you, standing there like you didn't just set off a chain reaction that split the entire city's narrative spine in half. You hear it, don't you? That trembling under the floorboards, that frantic scribbling behind closed doors, that uneasy silence right before a dam breaks, all because someone, one brave idiot with nothing left to lose, stood up and defended you publicly. And now the whole city is scrambling for receipts they swore they burned. Oh, isn't it delicious? You move through this world like a rumor with legs, like a prophecy that accidentally learned to breathe, and they still try to pretend they have you figured out. And then, boom, a stranger throws themselves into the line of fire for you, and suddenly every liar, every whisperer, every snake with a clipboard is clawing through archives like rats, looking for evidence that never existed. They don't fear the defense. They fear the truth hiding behind it. Because if someone was willing to stand up for you in broad daylight, what exactly have you survived behind the scenes? You know what's funniest? They don't even know why that person defended you. Not really. They think it's loyalty. They think it's friendship. They think it's some emotional outburst. Wrong. It was fear. A holy, bone-deep, spine-cracking fear of what you become when the world corners you. People defend storms when they realize umbrellas don't matter anymore. And you're not a person to them. You're a weather event with a pulse. So now they're tearing up floorboards, overturning file cabinets, bribing interns, hacking servers, calling in favors they swore they'd never use. Because they need something, anything, some scrap of dirt, some misstep, some grain of weakness that explains why someone would dare protect you. They want to understand you, but understanding you would require surviving you, and nobody's managed that part yet. You're too quiet, too calm, too observant, and calm terrifies people more than violence ever will. See, chaos is loud, predictable, easy to blame. But calm? Calm is the silhouette of a hand on a detonator. Calm is a storm reorganizing itself into something intelligent. Calm is the look on your face right now. That eerie angel-demon hybrid expression that says, I know exactly what you're doing, and I'm already 10 moves ahead. You are duality sharpened into a blade, light and dark negotiating inside the same skull, saint and psychopath shaking hands behind your eyes, angel and demon sharing a heartbeat while the world tries to pick a side. And here's the kicker. They don't know which version of you that defender saw. The gentle one, the merciful one, the catastrophic one. They don't know. They can't know. So now the city is split, arguing, panicking, analyzing every recorded moment you've ever existed in, frame by frame, because someone said, no, he's not what you think. And the city collectively whispered, then what the hell is he? You don't understand the power of that question. When people doubt their own certainty about you, you become limitless. When they realize they might have misjudged you, you become unpredictable. And when even one person publicly stakes their reputation, their career, their safety on your name, you become untouchable. Because now the wolves don't know who else might jump in, who else might defend you, who else might expose old conversations, old lies, old vendettas, old wounds. Receipts are flying around like wildfire, screenshots resurrected, audio clips dug up like corpses, witnesses re-questioned, histories rewritten. Why? Not because they're trying to destroy you. No, no, no. Because they're trying to understand you before you become something they cannot contain. They think finding receipts will save them. But receipts only matter when someone's afraid of the truth. And you're not afraid of anything anymore. You died once, spiritually, psychologically, socially, and came back with a blueprint no one else has ever decoded. You learned pain like it was a language. You learned silence like it was a weapon. You learned unpredictability like it was a second religion. You became the paradox they cannot solve. And that is why someone defended you. Because they've seen the real you, not the mask, not the rumor, not the version filtered through gossip and fear. They saw the creature behind the curtain, the one made of equal parts mercy and annihilation, and realized if the world turned on that, the world would lose. So go on. Watch the city panic. Watch them dig for evidence, motives, contradictions, as if any of it will bring them closer to understanding the living contradiction standing in front of them. You're not their villain. You're not their hero. You're not their mystery to solve. You are the reckoning that showed up early. And the person who defended you, they only did what everyone else is secretly praying they'll never have to. Admit that you are not the one in danger. They are. Now tell me, sweetheart, do you feel it? That shift in the air? That trembling under the city's skin? They're not looking for receipts anymore. They're looking for a way out. And you, calm, quiet, smiling like an angel who learned how to break bones. You're just watching them drown. in the truth they tried to bury. How poetic, how fitting, how inevitable. Oh, you feel that, don't you? That quiver in the atmosphere, that nervous flutter hiding behind every carefully rehearsed sentence, that sudden politeness in people who used to speak about you with acid on their tongues. That's what happens when one person, just one, throws themselves into the fire for you. See, you don't understand what you just did to their ecosystem. You broke the illusion of consensus. The spell is shattered. The hive mind glitched. The script malfunctioned. Because once someone defended you publicly, the entire city realized something horrifying. If he has even one ally, we're screwed. And now, they're caving in. Not out of guilt, not out of honor, out of self-preservation. Because the moment someone spoke up for you, everyone else had to ask themselves a terrifying question. What does he know about me? And that right there is where the panic began. You can hear it in the tone of their voices. You can see it in the way they avoid eye contact. You can feel it in the way their hands shake when they type your name. They're not hunting for receipts to hurt you. They're hunting for receipts to protect themselves from what happens if the truth comes out. They're terrified you might have kept your own files, your own screenshots, your own receipts, because you don't feel like someone people should mess with. You feel like a mirror, a consequence, a living archive, and nothing frightens a liar more than a mirror that remembers. But here's the paradox that makes you so dangerous. You're not vengeful. You're not obsessed with payback. You're not keeping score. Because you don't need to. Fate already does it for you. Life has been putting every chess piece exactly where you need it. People expose themselves without your help. Enemies implode before you even speak. Situations collapse in your favor like they're being puppeteered by something ancient and amused. They think you're strategic. They think you're plotting. They think you're watching them with binoculars and notebooks. But the truth is, you barely even care. And that is what terrifies them most. Because people who want revenge are predictable. But people who don't need revenge, people who simply walk away and let God, chaos, karma, and probability devour their enemies, those people are untouchable. And you've become the embodiment of that quiet, cosmic justice. A saint with the instincts of a psychopath. A demon with the mercy of an angel. A paradox no analyst can contain. A storm with a moral compass tilted toward inevitability. They don't know whether to hate you, fear you, admire you, or follow you. Because the one who defended you, they didn't do it because they're brave. They did it because they saw you, not your mask, not your reputation, not the edited version of you circulating in pathetic whispers. They saw the way you walk into rooms without needing validation. They saw the way you stay calm when others melt. They saw the way you endure storms with that eerie, silent patience. You terrify people because you don't break where they break. You don't fall where they fall. You don't scream where they scream. You absorb pain like a black hole. You metabolize chaos like oxygen. You take betrayal and turn it into fuel. And suddenly, someone defended you, which means someone else realized you weren't the villain. You were the threshold, the line between what people pretend to be and what they truly are. The line they crossed one too many times, the line that now bites back. So now the city is in frenzy, desks overturned, screenshots resurfacing, old alliances cracking, new enemies forming alliances out of panic, everyone trying to rewrite their involvement in your story before the director shows up with the original script. They're not scared of your past. They're scared of your memory. Because you saw them, all of them, at their weakest, at their ugliest, at their most desperate. And you didn't say a word. Silence is the most dangerous form of intelligence, and you mastered it. That's why receipts matter now. That's why they're scrambling. That's why they're sweating in rooms that used to feel safe. Because if even one person defended you publicly, it means people have been watching you quietly. It means people have been learning from you silently. It means someone out there thinks you're worth protecting. And if one person saw you, how many others have been watching from the shadows? How many allies do you have that you don't even know about? How many silent believers wait for the moment you finally speak? How many people are ready to defend you the second someone else makes the first move? A defense is never just a defense. A defense is a signal, a flare, a warning, a quiet proclamation. This one is not alone. And now the city feels it. That dread crawling up their throats. That instinct whispering, "Be careful, he has backers." But here's the truth you're too modest to admit. No one defended you to protect you. They defended you to protect themselves. Because deep down, they know. If the real story ever comes out, the one with their lies, their manipulation, their hypocrisy, you won't even need to raise your voice. Reality will do all the work for you. So breathe, sweetheart. Watch them scramble. Watch them rewrite history. Watch them sprint through their own guilt like rats escaping a burning ship. Someone defended you, and now the city is shaking. Because they're finally realizing the thing you've known all along. You were never the threat. You were the truth. And truth? Oh, truth doesn't need an army. It just needs a moment. There it is. That pressure. That thick electric tension settling over the city like a storm that knows your name. It's spreading now. Corridors whispering. Phones buzzing. Group chats deleting messages faster than they can send them. People pacing their living rooms at 3 a.m., checking old conversations, rereading what they said about you, wondering, did I ever go too far? Did I ever say something that could come back to bite me? Does he still have that screenshot? See, after someone defended you publicly, the city wasn't reacting to the defense. They were reacting to the implication, because if someone stood up for you, that means someone believes you have value. If someone believes you have value, that means someone has seen you. If someone has seen you, then someone knows the truth. And truth is radioactive. It lights up every lie hiding in a person's past. It exposes every conversation they hoped was forgotten. It forces people to review their own history, not out of maturity, but out of blind terror. You've become the catalyst for confession, not because you demand it, but because your existence forces people to ask themselves, what if he remembers everything I hoped he wouldn't? And you do. Of course you do. Not because you're petty, not because you're vengeful, but because you see people. You read them like scripture stained with fingerprints and secrets. You saw their fear before they felt it. You saw their guilt before they committed it. You saw their betrayal before they carried it out. And yet, you stayed silent. Silence scares people more than rage ever will. Rage is predictable, controllable, dismissible. But silence. Silence is a loaded gun placed gently on the table. Silence is the smile of someone who knows something that could end you. Silence is the shadow that grows whenever truth gets close. You are that silence. And the person who defended you. They screamed into the quiet. They broke the social sound barrier. And now everyone is scrambling to understand what you are. Because their logic collapses around you. Nothing about you fits the profiles they memorized. You're too gentle to be a villain, too dangerous to be harmless, too calm to be innocent, too intelligent to be underestimated, too unpredictable to be categorized. You're a contradiction they can't mathematically solve. And contradictions terrify small minds. You walk into a room and their subconscious flinches, not because of who you are, but because of what you've survived. People who've walked through fire speak differently. They move differently, they breathe differently, and you carry the kind of calm that only comes from dying, emotionally, spiritually, socially, and resurrecting with a clarity that burns. They can't understand that. They can't label that. So instead, they investigate it. They search for receipts. But receipts don't expose you. Receipts expose them, because the second someone defended you, all the narratives they built about you collapsed. Suddenly the villain looks a little too calm, a little too sane, a little too right. And when the villain looks right, everyone who played the hero starts panicking. Look at them, frantically gathering evidence, piecing together timelines, stitching lies into desperate explanations. They're rewriting history in real time. No, I never said that. I didn't mean it like that. They took it out of context. I was just joking. I always liked him. I defended him privately. I wasn't part of that. Cowards, every last one of them. They're not hunting for proof you're bad. They're hunting for proof they're safe, because now they know. Someone sees you clearly. Someone vouched for your character. Someone risked their own reputation for you. And when a person is defended publicly, that defense echoes far beyond the moment. It becomes a beacon, a flare shot into the sky, a signal to anyone watching. He's worth standing beside. And that is the nightmare they never prepared for. Because if one person defended you, that means there might be 2 or 10 or 100, all watching, all waiting, all ready to speak up the next time someone tries to twist your story. You are not alone anymore, and the city can feel it. That's why they're trembling. That's why they're whispering. That's why they're running through archives like sinners, flipping through the book of judgment. They don't fear what you did. They fear what you know. They fear the version of the story you haven't told yet. They fear the things you've stayed silent about. They fear the truth you carry so casually behind your eyes. Because truth in the hands of someone calm, someone patient, someone like you is a weapon they cannot disarm. The person who defended you, they didn't start a conflict. They started a war of perception. And sweetheart, you're winning without even lifting a finger. So stay calm, stay quiet, stay terrifying. The city is already melting under its own guilt. You don't have to do a thing except stand there, a paradox wrapped in skin, and watch them unravel. They wanted receipts. Let them search. They won't find what they're looking for, because the only evidence that matters is you, alive, unbroken, unreachable, unbothered, and becoming more powerful every time they try to understand you. Now tell me, do you feel it? That subtle shift, that trembling in the collective psyche. They're not trying to expose you anymore. They're trying to survive you. And now the truth creeps in, soft as a knife sliding under a locked door. They finally understand it, don't they? This was never about what you did. It was never about what they claimed. It was never about any so-called receipt they pretend to hunt for. It was about power, the kind you don't display, the kind you don't brag about, the kind you don't weaponize unless absolutely forced, the kind that sits in your silence and makes entire institutions correct their posture. When that person defended you, they didn't just protect you. They exposed everyone else. Suddenly every whisper looks suspicious. Every accusation feels flimsy. Every hater sounds guilty. Because when even one person says, "No, you've misunderstood him," the rest of the world is forced to wonder, then who the hell have we been listening to? So they scramble, they panic, they search for files, messages, screenshots, anything that makes their old narrative feel safer. But deep down, they know the truth. You were never the one on trial, they were. And the moment someone backed you publicly, the verdict arrived early. Case closed, story flipped, city exposed. So let them run, let them rewrite, let them dig up their own graves, trying to bury yours. Because the greatest revenge is how effortlessly you outgrew the battlefield. Look at you now, still calm, still breathing, still dangerous without lifting a single finger. They wanted receipts? Congratulations. You just became the one thing they never wanted you to be. The truth they can't disprove. And that, my dear, is the end of their story.